Hello, everybody, and welcome to MangaPod. We are a weekly podcast in which we all get together after we... all are part of a manga,
Great
and then
start.
we discuss it with friends.
Great start.
Lots and lots of spoilers. This week we are discussing My Brother's Husband, chapters 1 through... I'm powering through. Chapters 1 through 21. With me are three lovely co-hosts as well as a very special guest. Have everybody go around and introduce themselves, please.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dodger. I definitely realized we were live at the time that we were live. It was bizarre. We have no latency on this channel anymore, and so I looked over expecting to see the moment that we would transfer, where it would go from like the normal screen to us, and I looked over and we were already live, and I was like,
I said, all right, are you ready to go?
I know, but I thought.
There's a difference between saying, "Oh, I'm ready to go live right now," or "I'm ready for the pre to live."
No, I knew exactly what she meant. I was just being a doofus. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast.
Okay.
I'm just really confused because I was on the Discord window. I had no idea what the hell was going on. I'm Lou from Lutox Anime. How's everybody doing tonight?
I'm less confused than Lou, but having a good time all the same. And I'm Arkada from Glass Reflection. Hello, everyone.
Hello, thank you so much for coming on with us tonight. Yeah. If you guys have never joined us for a MangaPod before, what we like to do is give you a short spoiler-free description of the manga that we read, aka summary, and then we'll give you our spoiler-free recommendations, whether we think you should spend time going to read this manga or not. That way, if it sounds like something you're interested in, you can take your leave once we get to spoiler section, go read it, and then come back and watch the VOD of this later. We ask that nobody post any spoilers in chat until we get to spoiler section. Once we get to spoiler section, please don't post any spoilers for past what we read, which we ended on chapter 21, and we're all very upset about this because this has 4 volumes and we only got to read 3 and ended on a cliffhanger, so we're all very upset about it. So please do not post any spoilers for anything once we get there.
Please do not.
Please do not. All right, spoiler free description, if you don't mind.
Kai. Okay, so
Okay.
again, I'm probably gonna butcher the Japanese title,
Kill it.
so everybody's aware. But Ototo no Oto is a family drama that begins with the suspicious arrival of Mike, a Canadian who has come to pay his respects to the family of his recently deceased Japanese husband, Ryuji, whose only remaining immediate family member is Yaichi, his identical twin brother. As Mike gets accustomed to Japanese morals and the surprising idiosyncrasies of living with Yaichi and his daughter Kana, the sleepy Japanese suburb also learns the true meaning of family.
Yay! Thank you. All right, spoiler for recommendations. Would anybody like to go first?
Sure.
Hit it.
My recommendation is like really high up until the end of volume 3. I'm sure after volume 4 I'll love it a lot. But until that time, I'm like I would not force that cliffhanger on anyone right now.
Yeah.
But that said, I really hope that we get a translation of volume 4, and I actually just want a legit and physical copy of this in hardcover, or maybe not hardcover, in any kind of form. Well then, I want that.
It's so great.
I want it.
So good.
So wait. Does that copy only have the first 3, or
It's volume 1, but it's technically like I think volume 1 and 2
yeah, that looks
together
really big for
it's
just
really
volume 1.
big.
So
It says
thick.
just volume 1, but when I went from this to like online, this was like the first 2 volumes. together.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's
So,
like the first half. Okay.
Yeah. So,
I want that, and then I want the other 2. So,
Yes.
yes, positive recommendation
Here,
from me.
I'll just do this.
Beautiful.
Oh, I
Yeah,
don't know. You can see it online, but it's fine.
I would definitely second that. I absolutely loved this. It's so sweet. It's just, it has so much to say, and it does it really effortlessly. And I really, really enjoyed reading it, and I agree that it really sucks where we ended. I would have loved to just finish all of it. But I'm so excited to read the last volume, and sorry.
Yeah.
My monitor is dying, so I'm gonna walk away for a second. But it's great. I definitely recommend it. Highly. So good. Wow. Oh. Never mind. It's already plugged in. What is the light?
I feel like we're on a journey with you. just learning. Oh, that monitor. I thought you meant.
Oh, right. Monitor can apply to other things. Yeah, you're right.
Makes me wonder. Monitor. That makes me wonder where my monitor is for my child.
I'm sure your child's fine.
It's okay. Anyway,
the world may never know.
I'm also gonna like echo everything that's been said. We picked a terrible stopping point, so stop maybe a chapter before we did. Or if you're in the future times and you're like looking back on this MangaPod on youtube.com/happily Aaron, watching them VODs.
The VODs.
And it's available, and there's more of it. Go read past what we read.
All of it.
But please, like I highly recommend reading this. I do want to pick it up once it's done. And actually, I would love to keep it in my classroom for reasons that I will get into once we get into the spoiler section, because there's a thing that happens in there that's kind of relevant to what I do.
Yeah. I agree with like everything, echoing everything everybody has said. I read this a while ago. I think last year. I got the first volume right when it came out. And I've loved it since the beginning. It's very sweet. I think it does a really great job of touching on both like big homophobia as well as the smaller, like not as obvious kinds that Japan definitely deals with. And it gives a very interesting insight into somebody, like as somebody who's not in that culture, seeing what it's like. And it's a very raw, honest look at it. And it's also a found family in a way, and I love found family stories, and so that's also something that I love about it. And so I think it's a necessary read, and also just an enjoyable read that a lot of people could get a lot out of and should definitely go and check out. And it's only 4 volumes, so it is finished. And I was actually reading too that it won an Eisner Award this year. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, so it's like really, really good. I highly recommend it as well. So, yeah, so there you go. If you do not want to be spoiled for this manga, now is the time to go ahead and take your leave. Otherwise, we are going to jump into spoiler section. Can I have a countdown, please?
5,
Oh.
4,
What?
3, 2,
2,
1. Mike is God.
Mike is God.
I couldn't hear you guys for a second. I was.
Oh no!
I wasn't just ignoring it.
No,
I was like,
it's all right.
Literally, the second I plugged it in, I just heard 4, 3, and I was like,
wait,
"Oh no,
what?
that's my job."
For a second, I thought it was my job, and I was like, wait, is this what the guest does? Is that why there's silence?
Wow.
Am I screwing this up?
Ark and I were covering for you, dudes. It's
Yeah,
fine. We're
you
family
guys
now.
did good.
I'm on a different planet tonight, I guess.
You guys did
It's
really
okay.
Welcome to
Mike-
spoiler section, motherfuckers.
I'm sure Mike is God of that planet too. Fuck yeah,
Mike is
the
God.
Mike is God.
Mike
I have
is-
2 really big observations. One, wow, this was actually really short. I wasn't like I saw the chapter length, so I was like, okay, that's fine. But I actually thought it was going to take.
Chapters to be a lot longer than they were.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I did too. I thought that it was going to take much longer to get through, because I think the last time I was on MangaPod, it was still like, oh, it's like 30 some odd chapters, but it took me like several hours to get through.
Yeah. I think it was also was it Sailor Moon?
Yes.
I think Sailor Moon was the last time that you came on, which is understandable. Sailor Moon chapters are pretty. Ooh, I like the teapot coming out of nowhere.
Me
Yay.
too. It's good. I like all of this.
I'm
Okay.
So
I was
You have
given
another
tea.
option.
I needed.
Did you have
I
your
needed to
second
have.
You had this.
observation that you
I
would like to
didn't.
share with us?
I didn't want to
I
like.
did. No, I was given
segue
tea.
away.
I needed to pause for tea because tea is
Fair.
great.
Fair enough. That is a very
Understand.
cute-
Observation
Good
number
call.
2. Why is everyone so swole?
So swole.
Right?
Like
This
everyone.
is a very Bara manga,
Bara.
considering
Well-
how little nudity is in it.
The mangaka is originally a bara mangaka. Like he does.
There you
That's
go.
his main thing. So when he did
That's what he
this,
does.
All big
people were
boobs.
like, "It's so wholesome
It's so
compared
Sure.
to your other things."
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and he is a gay man in Japan as well
Aw.
too. So that also gives some more like validity to what he's doing with the story. What were you? Let's start with the question that we usually start with. What were your guys' expectations before going into this manga?
I was expecting a lot more Canadian stereotypes because, like,
Yeah,
anytime a Canadian is brought in to manga or anime, like the same sort of things always happen, and I'm like, great, here we go again. But that like never happens.
In manga.
Yeah.
wait,
Do you guys?
but I have one Canadian stereotype that I did kind of experience while reading this. While like my girlfriend was looking over my shoulder while I was reading the manga, and the very first panel she sees is Mike apologizing.
See, that's a stereotype I'm fine with.
That one.
It's not even a stereotype; it's just a way of life.
Right,
It's
yeah,
just being
fair.
polite.
Do you guys make mac and cheese a lot?
Not only do we
mac and
make
cheese, Arkada.
okay, not only did we make mac and cheese, he didn't start off by saying we're just gonna make mac and cheese. He specifically said we're making craft dinner, and I know for a fact he did not buy craft dinner at the store. That's the thing, because I'm pretty sure you could probably buy craft dinner somewhere in Japan,
I don't even
but
know what that means.
Kraft is a brand.
The Kraft
Right.
mac and cheese.
Yeah, they
Right.
sell mac and cheese in a box,
is the
and we
phrase
just call it.
craft dinner a thing?
It is just called craft dinner. That's what it is.
Never heard
It
that
is.
in my life.
It is
I've been-
mac and
Never.
cheese. It is a Canadian thing. So the fact that he said, "Yeah, we're making craft dinner," I'm like, "Yes, you are." Sure. Well, it's
So
like
funny.
kind of important because like our craft dinner, our mac and cheese is just slightly above the cheapest mac and cheese you can get. You can buy like 20-cent boxes of mac and cheese that are garbage.
Right.
But if you upgrade to $1, just $1, you too can have the craft dinner experience that all Canadian university students have.
Hmm.
Like
We
when
used to
people
make-
say, "Oh, we have like cup ramen or like little bags of Mr. Noodle or whatever," we have craft dinner. That's $1 a box.
Do you have
It is
do you have Easy Mac, which is just you add the water and you put it in the microwave?
We do, except I
not very
didn't usually have access to a microwave. I've always had far easier access to a stove than I've had a microwave. So regular mac and cheese is the same thing. But Easy Mac is pretty much craft dinner. It's just doesn't necessarily taste the same because you microwave
It's
it.
not as
and-
good.
Yeah, microwaved water, which is what you have to use for Easy Mac, is very. I've never liked microwave water. It always tastes weird.
Not where I thought this discussion was going to go.
We began with Canadian
Pulled
stereotypes.
off of it
We
and then I was like,
continued with
no.
craft dinner.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Lou or Dodger?
What was I expecting from this manga? I was expecting but hoping to be pleasantly surprised that that Mike would fall in love with the dad.
Yeah.
I was like, I really hope,
time.
I really hope that doesn't happen.
One more
I
volume.
would,
Well,
I would
especially
love if it was
especially
like a
'cause-
legit- Sorry, go for it.
no, it's okay. Especially because they made this big point of saying they're twins.
Right.
It's not just they're brothers. Because if they were brothers, fine, but they're twins.
Yeah.
They're twins, and they've also like he obviously has these moments that are really painful for him, where like he flashes back to what his life was like with his husband, you know. And the whole conversation with their childhood friend who was like, it must be really hard living in that house with him, huh? They look identical. And he was like, ha ha ha, yeah. But I like that so far it's felt so much like they don't need to fall in love to be family, right?
Mhm.
Like he was married to his twin brother, and you know, they're like creating a different type of connection that still counts and is still valid. And I think that's like the whole point of the story, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So I was pleasantly surprised by that.
Mm-hmm.
I expected it to be less wholesome and more playing to stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
More so gay stereotypes as opposed to Canadian stereotypes. Arc, I'm sorry. But like,
That's fine.
given
Apologizing.
no, but
I don't care.
No,
That's fine, mate.
given the subject matter, like usually the way I've seen manga handle it just handle homosexuality in general, it never really has a lot of tact.
Mm-hmm.
I expected this to turn into a BL series. I honestly like didn't remember anything about the what's it called, the summary that you'd read, or that was listed. I actually remember checking it earlier in the week too, and none of it really stuck with me. I just remember the cover because that cover really stands out.
Yeah, I think I was half expecting BL as well, because I remember just in like brief searching about the manga before reading it is catching up on the author's past. But I don't think I have the same experience you do when it comes to like seeing homosexuality in manga, because I don't like read manga all that much. So like my baseline for homosexuality in manga is Wandering Sun, and that's way high of a
good.
really good bar.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So there are very few manga that I would say that portrays it in a way that feels tasteful, and where characters, it's a story about characters who are gay as opposed to pandering to stereotypes. I think this manga does it extremely well, and yeah, it just like they felt like genuine people that were trying to go through the grieving process and come to understand each other, and lots of growth from specifically the Japanese members of the cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting as much growth from like the main character, or seeing like how that was going to happen. I was expecting a lot of the stereotypes as well, like you were, Lou, when I went into it, just because after reading so much, it's just kind of like what you expect. And knowing the kind of base belief and like stereotypes that like are held in Japan too about homosexuality, and like the bias and the homophobia over there. And so getting to see such a like real look at it without it also being like this, I don't know, it wasn't like depressing or dragging down or anything. It was like, this is what it is, and this is a story of like somebody learning that, how to combat that and how to grow with that. And so getting to see such a wholesome look at it and take on it, but still being very real, I wasn't expecting to get as much out of it as possible. Or as that. I wasn't expecting to have the story go like that.
I feel like there's a lot of really nice subtlety in it too. Like the subtle ways that people react to things, and having a character like the dad, I can't remember his name, but the main guy, I guess.
Yeah.
Having a character like him where we get to like hear his thought process as he's working through like, why did I react that way, or like, how can I be better in the future, and like, how am I feeling now? Like, it's fucked up that person feels this way, but I guess technically I felt that way too. Like, those sorts of conversations in his head are really
It's like
nice
the gears are turning.
Yeah, because
And before he would just be like, oh no, that's just the way it is, and then he's like, but wait, why?
yeah, and it helps that we have Kana, right, to like be the child.
Because
in the
she's young.
situation. It's
She's
like, why?
naive.
Yeah, she's not tainted by culture yet, you know. Yeah, it's cool. I liked that because it created a situation where you feel like proud of him, kind of. Like he has all of these moments where he I loved the whole scene where he was like, this time I'm gonna introduce him properly as my brother's husband, right? Like, and how disappointed he was to not be able to talk about it and to feel like shut down. And the follow-up to that was so interesting too, like the reveal that guy is gay and doesn't want to talk about it with anybody, and that's why it was avoided and not for the reasons that he thought. Like, it was just like a lot of that built in a way where I was like, God, this is so well thought out. You know?
Yeah, and it's so rare when you get a character who is like not just learning from how like he was before, but actively being aware of it and subconsciously like constantly being like, oh, okay, well, I remember I reacted this way, why did I react that way? And then like reworking through and trying to figure out how to be a better person and actively like us in his mind seeing it happen. And I love that. I love having Kana there because of how she explains things so bluntly and so childlike, and it's so realistic because that's what a kid is, and that's how they think. And so not just like, it's such a great learning tool, not just for like kids to read, but also for like adults who have that mindset, who may not have thought about it or like think about how the dad thinks about it. Then to have her come in and just say it like that, it's like, it's so blunt and so straightforward. And I'm like, I love that that's there, and that's how that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of kind of and kind of tying into that whole thought process that you were talking about, specifically the scene where he starts to work out, well, what if she is gay? How am I going to approach that situation? So I like that it's not just regressive in that, you know, he's not just, or it's not retrospective. Like, he's not just him reflecting on things that he's done or his experiences. He's projecting into the future, and he's thinking outside of that, outside of Mike and his brother. He's thinking on a broader scale, and he's thinking, like, he's applying all these things that he's learning to what it means to raise his child. Specifically, like the whole being angry at people for casting out those the people they love just for coming out. Like, I think that was a very important scene in the manga.
Yeah.
It was handled really well. I was surprised.
Yeah. Also, can we talk about how great Mike is? And like, he's so patient, and it's sad because you know that it's patience built up over years and years of
practice and
practice.
You just have to.
Like the ways that he's treated in the first couple of chapters, there's so many moments where I'm like, poor Mike, like, fuck. And he just forgives, and he moves on, and he keeps trying, you know. And like the whole scene with the neighbor kid who like just needs somebody to talk to, and he's like, of course I'll be that for you, because I've been there and I haven't been able to talk to anyone, right? And he's
that was
just
really
such
well
a,
done
like,
too.
Yeah, he's such an emotionally like giving person that sort of juxtaposes how stoic everyone else is because it's Japan, you know?
Yeah. But
I have a thing I really wanted to say, since you brought up the neighbor kid.
Yeah.
So I mentioned earlier that I would love to have this manga in my classroom, and it's because of that specific scene with the neighbor kid. And I have a little anecdote I'd like to share with you guys.
Okay.
So one, like, mainly I teach classes on American government, but one class that I teach is a leadership course, and integrated into the curriculum for that is social emotional learning. So getting kids to not only learn how to set goals, but learn empathy and learn to express themselves and learn how to communicate, things like that. It's a interesting
Good
class.
leadership qualities.
Yeah, exactly. So
good thing to learn in school.
I did an activity last week, and the activity was centered on the idea that there are things that we carry burdens, and not often do we have the opportunity to vent. Like, people have the internet as a tool to vent, but not everyone, at least at that age, has really fully embraced the idea of having an anonymous online persona. So I give them the opportunity to anonymously submit things that they wanted to vent about. And one of the ones that came across was a person. I don't know who it is, but it's a student in my classroom that ended up coming out to the entire class, saying that they were, that they were closeted, that they didn't feel comfortable telling anyone, but they needed to say it, so that they were out and that they were looking for support groups and things like that. And I kind of wish that they would have done it in a way where I could have, at least they could have hinted to me who they were, so I could have been that support that they needed. But I feel like having media that represents that struggle of like not knowing who to communicate with, and kind of like flying through this blind, would have gone a long way. Which is why, like, I would really like to own this manga and have it there for anyone that could possibly need it in my class.
Yeah,
For sure.
that's awesome. Yeah, that whole scene, I really liked how that played out too. And like how the dad realized, oh, I'm carrying this secret with him now, and kind of is getting that understanding about what it really means to be closeted, and like just the whole, like, it's not just one little secret, like you're hiding this huge part of yourself that you can't tell anybody about. Like, it's so hard because you're just scared about what's going to happen. And then I love that they talk about the differences between how like the prejudice is handled in different countries. And so Mike is like, yeah, there's kids who parents like send them out and like they're homeless, and the dad's like, what? How does that even happen? It doesn't make any sense to him. But then he thinks about, oh, but here, this is what homophobia looks like. And it's just these little, like, the mom saying that Mike is a negative influence, like it's that kind of thing. And it's like it's just as brutal and just as, like, if not more so, like, negative, but it's just very different in how the cultures look at it and tackle it.
Right, and we even see it in how he treated his own brother, right? And how he's like acknowledging, oh, you were the exact same person. It was me who started behaving differently and like didn't feel a connection with you anymore. And like it's such a reflection on what we see through the whole manga in little ways so far, with like this like polite homophobia, where it's like we're just not going to talk about it, and then it's fine. And having Mike go and have dinner with that guy and being like, I don't like keeping secrets, like I'm still closeted because I'm not, Yeah. And I thought that was so, I really loved that scene for that reason. Like him being like, I get that this,
Even just like the composition of the page, where it just had them in darkness and you could see like the closet door behind them to signify, yeah, no, you're now in the closet again temporarily with this guy.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, there's just a lot of this manga, because it's so short. This is another thing that like I didn't expect. There's just so much packed into it. And it's from like how all of these scenes play out, how they're able to be woven together. Even just like the little bits in between chapters where it's just like, well, here's Mike's little explanation of certain things, talking about like what countries have it, like what countries allow gay marriage, what countries not necessarily allow gay marriage, but have like social structures in place so that gay couples can be together as far as a legal precedent. And I was just like, that's really great. I like that all of this information is here in such a small package, and you can read it real quick. I think I got through my read in about an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Same.
roughly.
It's such a fast read. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't expect to get through it as quick as I did. I read the first 10 chapters so fast, and then I was like, oh, I guess I don't really need to stress too much about finishing.
Yeah, no, like I was pacing myself because I was like, okay, well, if I go through a couple of volumes like in this first hour, it'll be really nice. And then I reached the part where I realized, wait, hold on, I'm starting volume 3? What? I'm
Yeah.
already 2/3 of the way through, but it's only
Yeah.
a couple of minutes.
That was like when I finished this and then went online. It was like, this is the start of volume 3. I was like, what? I was like, this is volume 1. I'm so confused. But yeah, even like, excuse me, having the physical, it's just such a fast. And that happened to me when I first got that. Like, I read it like right when I got it, and it was just like,
When did that
so
come out,
quick.
by the by?
Last year, early last year, I think is when I got it.
We don't know when the next one's coming out?
The next one is on Amazon. It just came out
it is?
recently. Yeah.
Oh.
It
Oh, good.
just came out recently. I don't know if volume 3 is out or when it's coming out. Or
if
4.
there'll be a volume 3, because if the English volume 1 is volumes 1 and 2,
Yeah,
it's
then it's
possible
probably,
volume
yeah.
2.
They're not very expensive
like
either.
omnibus.
When I went and saw that, it was because when I bought that one, the second one like wasn't out yet, and then I just completely slipped my
it
mind
says-
to get another one.
Volume
It's
2
a
came out in
beginning
September.
Volume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that came out in September. Okay, I can get both of these. I need to do that.
And they're not like super expensive either.
Actually, I might be able to not
like
get them
'em.
shipped, but I might be able to just stop into chapters tomorrow and pick it up on the way into work.
Do it. It's a
They're
really well
they're actually
done
about,
too. It's
they're
really well
about
done.
50% off on Amazon right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm getting them.
They're like
Yeah, I'm not seeing the 50% off, but then again, I'm on Amazon CA, so.
Oh yeah.
Canadians, don't get these wonderful deals. Everybody's being like, oh, look at all this money I'm saving on Sentai Filmworks. And I'm like, they don't ship to Canada.
Oh no. But the hardcover, like it is really nice too.
Mhm.
Like I really like it.
Oh, nice.
I always
keep
like it when
on
I can I like it when I can get manga in hardcover because it's like so rare to find, but usually when it happens, it's so worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is
Like the Jijitos are all so good in hardcover.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I keep this on my nightstand as one of my like little display books. So I have it there.
God damn, now Amazon is like, do you want all of these other Bara manga?
You're like, no.
So much. There's so many.
Oh no. I wanted to say one of my favorite chapters, I guess it's like little mini arc, is when they go to the hot springs, the onsen chapter. Where, because as I'm reading it, I had the same exact thought process that he did, where I'm like, he's not having any of that like internal like homophobia or weirdness about it. Like he's not doing it. I'm like, where is it? Where is it? And then it doesn't happen. And later he's like, oh hey, like,
Oh, hey.
and so I
such a
loved
perfect excuse for that too.
Yes.
Like to have
And
the
that
third
arc
Hot
alone-
Springs chapter.
Yeah.
That arc alone did like so many things. The first time they said hot springs, I'm like, oh god, hot springs, really? But then they added in so many things. They're like, yeah, no, we're gonna bring in the ex-wife, and that's gonna be perfectly fine. Nothing bad's gonna happen with that. We're gonna have a little small talk about how like foreigners can't go to hot springs with tattoos and why. And I'm like, thank you, because I've explained that story to so many people that just don't get it, and I'm like, Yakuza man.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's that's such a like easy, like we were talking about stereotypes earlier, like it so easily could have fallen into something with that, or like the stereotypical like viewpoints that are held with it, but it was made so normal, which is exactly what it should be. And it did it so organically and naturally. I loved that little arc so much. Just the development for him, and also for them as like a little coming together family that you don't think about. Because let's talk about the ex-wife. So we have Kana's mom as well. What do you guys think about her and her whole addition to the fam?
Like Mike, I thought she was dead.
Yeah.
She popped up, and I'm like, oh wait. Okay, I
Did a
guess
good
that's
job
just
of
kind of.
making you think that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, because they were talking about death a lot, and they were talking about how like Mike had nobody else, and then like they were talking about how Yaichi has no one else in his family either, because his parents are gone and his only brother's dead now, and since his wife wasn't there, and he had the photo by the nightstand, and I'm like, man, this guy's just life is full of hardships, and then the wife shows up, and I'm like, oh, and like right before that, when Kana's talking to Mike about how she wants to go see her mom.
Yeah.
The entire conversation just like is the stereotypical conversation of the kid not really understanding parental death, but and then it just immediately moves in. No, she's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not only is she fine, but like
There's
they
a
have
good relationship there. They're still friends.
they're, like, we just couldn't be married, and that's okay. We're still family, and we still love each other, and we're still gonna be there for Kana, and like that's all there is to it. And I was like, God, this is so nice. Like,
Yeah.
what refreshing.
This is so wholesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just another look of like family isn't just one strict look. Like it's so many different things what people make it, and it's just the idea, like the perception people have about this is what family looks like, or this is how being a parent has to look. I love that it questions that, and it brings in different ideas for it and just shows like this can be just as loving and just as healthy of a family as whatever this like other idea is.
What I do like about like not just this story but other ones like it is I spent a lot of time like when I was a kid seeing the quote unquote default family unit, and for a very long time I was never really exposed to any other option. And like I'm pretty sure that's like by design from certain parts of society, but I always like being able to see stories that go into the choices of like, no, there are different ways that you can do this, and they're all fine. There's nothing wrong with any of them. And like just getting more spotlight and exposure on the fact that this is fine, this is normal, this can exist. And I just like that that's there, because then when you're in a situation, or if you're in a relationship and things don't work out, you don't feel pressured to still fall into that norm, even when it's just not working out for you.
Yeah.
So,
Like
I felt like I was going somewhere else with that, but no, that's a good stuff.
like, specifically with the main boy and his ex-wife. I think that's an excellent example of how to co-parent. Which, I mean, usually when you see divorced parents in any medium, there's always a certain baseline level of vitriol between them. And it's frustrating because it doesn't have to be that way.
No, and you see it in life too. My parents are divorced, and I've only ever seen them in the same room in my life once, and that was right before my sister's wedding.
Yeah,
like they don't speak bad of each other, and I'm pretty sure that was because of us as kids. But at the same time, they pretty much go out of their way to not interact unless they have to.
Yeah,
and that works for them, I guess. But like, yeah.
Yeah, my parents are divorced too, but they didn't get divorced until after, like, just a few years ago. But they'd gone through the whole thing where it's like maybe should have done it a lot earlier.
But maybe they just like stayed together because of kids. And
there's like a lot of stuff, and so it's just seeing like them being able to parent the way they do, like as friends and stuff. It's like it can happen, like it can work. And getting to see that is so refreshing, especially, and it goes back to like if a teenager or like a preteen is reading this, like that could also give them the idea too of like understanding that there are different families and things like that. Let's talk about art. You guys' feelings on the art?
Well, again, everybody's swole as
Very
all
So
hell.
swole and hairy, which is a very Bara thing.
Well, it's not just a Bara
hairy
thing, but it's also like a very it's a very foreigner thing as far as the Japanese are concerned.
Yeah.
So that was like one stereotype. I was like, okay, well, we'll get that by because Buddy's a Canadian, and yes, he will have a lot of body hair. But yeah.
Thoughts other than swole? I like that
honestly,
thought though.
Like, it took a little bit for me to like really get into it. I like it now. I think that there are like the moments when the camera is like pulled back a bit and the faces are just like dots and smiles. Like really funny. Like,
Yeah.
all right, sure. Yeah.
It also reminds me, like, not including the entire swole thing, although that kind of feeds into it a bit. It reminds me a lot of like manga designs from the early 90s. So like things that I'm thinking of is like City Hunter and that. Where just like their faces are designed and drawn a particular way, and it reminds me a lot of like that style from back then.
Yeah.
Rather than like more modern techniques of drawing manga. Like the first time I saw the cover of this, it didn't really feel like, it didn't scream to me like, oh, this is obviously a manga, because all of the more modern tropes, the moe stuff that we have come so used to in the past number of years, none of that exists here in this cover. So yeah.
Like the first time I saw the art, or like not so much the cover art, but like actually reading through the manga, it reminded me a lot of Cross Game for some reason, and I'm not sure why.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
I think Kana's designs brings me close to Cross Game. Everybody else, no.
No,
Kana, yes.
I mean, specifically Kana and the other kids. Like definitely had that vibe, and also like how it paces out some of its dialogue, like where it'll start and you'll see a subtle change of expression on some of the characters on the next one with no dialogue accompanying it, but conveying the general thought process. So, but yeah, no, I like the art. I more so for the black and white than the color. I did not like the color pages.
Yeah,
they felt too I don't know, like I don't know, it's just like there's something about it, like it
just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, like the color palette should have been a little bit more muted to suit like the comfy tone, because that's the tone of this manga is very comfy and warm, and that's not what I get from the color palette of the color pages.
Yeah.
It's also like this weird thing, because it's like it's trying to be muted. I wouldn't say that the colors in this are vibrant. But at the same time, I wouldn't say that they're muted, and it really kind of needed to be one or the other. You either need to go all in and be vibrant to help out with that whole comf feeling. So like my staple byline for that recently has been the color art for Laid Back Camp, because like that is vibrant comf right there. But otherwise, then you need to be a lot more muted.
Yeah. I thought the art was really nice. I thought it was pleasant. It did take me a little bit to get used to, especially since we read so many manga on this podcast, and the art, like, we're used to most of the time our art is like very high level. And so it took me a little bit to get used to the style, but I think it works really well for the story that it's telling, and it does a very good job of telling the emotions and thought process through the art without, like Lou was saying, with dialogue sometimes. And I like the character designs a lot. It all just feels like it fits really well. It's very basic, but it's not bad. I think it's good.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this. With this art. Do you guys have anything else you would like to touch on? Otherwise, we'll do final thoughts and ratings.
Good.
No, I'm good.
Again, just that cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Oh man, yeah, we didn't even talk about what made us so mad about the cliffhanger. So we ended the last chapter we read. It ends with a voice message to the dad from the PE teacher saying, "I need to talk to you about something."
Yeah,
I don't know if it was actually from the.
He like awkwardly just like looked around a corner like.
No, I don't even think it was from the PE teacher. I think it was from Kana's homeroom teacher, which I think makes this worse.
Yeah,
right.
So then it's like inner talk between the teachers at the school. After all Mike did was he showed up and he just wanted to give Kana her recorder because she left it at home and
so
she has a
wouldn't
test
fail
that day.
a test.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's so wholesome. And now you stupid people are gonna ruin this. Except I don't actually think that it'll be all that bad.
No. I hope
unless the ending goes like drastically different than that.
It goes real dark.
Canada.
Yeah. Come to Canada. We have a prime minister that wears a pink shirt and says like kindness is happiness or something. I can't remember exactly what it says, but it's a really stereotypical kind thing, and it's hilarious that he wore it. But
I love it. I hope main dude is able to like do a real big telling off. I feel like it's building. something's happening.
me
He's
too.
gonna say something. And
He's
you're gonna
getting
be
so
like,
frustrated
"Fuck yeah!"
with people in his town. I just really want him to be like, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you."
Yes,
That'd be amazing.
agreed. Yes. Sweet. Does anybody want to go first with their rating for it? Which I know it's hard since we ended on the cliffhanger, but
Yeah, since we haven't read the last volume,
yeah.
I think I'm gonna because I honestly like really liked it, and it was such a pleasant surprise for me. Just the tone of the whole thing, the sort of subjects that they touched on, the way that characters were done. I absolutely loved it, and I feel like by the end, it's probably gonna be a 10 for me. But I'm gonna give it a 9.5 because I don't know, and there's one volume left, and the way that it ended pissed me off. The cliffhanger that we got, I was like, no, so dramatic.
I'm like
So,
9, 10 as well, because like everything, it's so quick to get through, so it doesn't take up your time, it doesn't waste your time at all, and everything in it is just so nicely packed in. Everything is done just so. There is so much in there, and you can finish it real quick. It is like no time at all to get through.
No.
At all, and it's great. So yeah, I'm like 9-ish, and it'll probably be a 10 once it's done.
Yeah.
Or as close to it as I'm willing to give to anything. Yeah.
Yeah, same. I was gonna do a 9.5, probably a 10. Just because I think it's such an important story, and it tells the message that it's trying to very well in a very raw, distinct way. Very wholesome, found family, well done story that I just got so enraptured by, and I love, and I want to share with so many people and have my daughter read it someday and things like that. And so it's just a story that's really hooked me, found its way into my heart, and that I just want to talk praises about and remember for years to come. And so I think it's a 9.5 for me, with definite potential to be a 10 after the last volume.
I liked this manga, and I see the value in it, and I think it's my daughter's phone. It's possessed. It has an ad that randomly will start playing, and it's the most frustrating thing in the world because I've uninstalled that app like 20 times.
Oh no.
In the middle of the night, it'll just start turning on. Whatever. That's completely derailing like my thought process. I like this manga. I don't really have any pronounced issues with it, apart from the fact that I would like a more clear, like I would have liked a more clear direction on what the end point is, because at this point I feel like the story could end at any, like, without really reaching a defined
Resolving
conclusion.
much.
Exactly, where it's just
There's still a lot of open questions, and you're like, how can they solve this in one volume? Like,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily feel like they're trying to solve anything. It looks like it's just
doesn't need to solve anything.
It's probably not, but I feel like this type of story and the way that they're presenting it could have done a lot in terms of like, because it actually, I would argue that it is making a concerted effort to resolve things, because it's taking the main guy's points or concerns or issues or reservations or misconceptions, and it's picking them apart and showing them what are the holes in his thought process thus far. So I feel like having something a little bit more focused in terms of the storytelling would have been good.
I feel like it is like building towards something obvious. Like I feel like the whole story so far has very naturally built towards this moment when it's going to be like, do people give a shit about Mike in this town? And is it like what are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
And then hopefully
Where's it
it
gonna
resolves
go with
in a
that?
way
Yeah.
where it's like, Mike is our family, so that's all there is to it. And then Mike maybe goes back to Canada. Like, that's kind of how I assumed it's going to end.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's also a thing where I think Yaichi has to have that moment. So the moment that he wanted to have with the high school friend that he didn't get to have, because currently he has not
Where
really
he, like,
done
openly acknowledges it.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe
that this is a thing and that's fine. He hasn't done that yet, so I feel like that's the end
I
point.
think that's the sticking point for me. Is just I feel like I would like to see more instances of him trying to tackle that emotion or trying to make strides towards it instead of reflecting, like him being more proactive in voicing his support for his brother and his husband and their love and affection for each other. That said, like, I mean, I have these problems with it, but I still think it's a brilliant read. It's something that I would like to have in my classroom. I already have it in my Amazon shopping cart. It'll be arriving within the next couple days.
Yeah.
I just need a debate on whether or not I'm just gonna straight up pick it up at the store tomorrow, because I drive by a bookstore every day and it's huge,
Might as
so
well.
they have to have one. So I'm like, yeah, I'll probably just walk in and pick it up.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give it for now, mostly because I'm really bitter about the stopping point. I think an 8.5. An
Awesome.
8.5, but still the potential for it to reach the 10. If there's
Normally, I'm bitter
more-
about that sort of thing.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, there you go. We all highly recommend it. We think you should definitely go ahead and check it out. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to read the description for the manga that we are reading next week. We'll let you
I have
guys
all three.
guess.
I have them pulled up. If you
Oh, I
want.
was going to say we could all read our own.
Yeah,
The three of us. I have mine pulled up too.
Oh yeah, you
So
guys are
it's-
doing a thing next week where you're looking at like 3 different ones or something.
Yeah, we're gonna
What?
do our
Yes.
annual
We did it last year.
annual manga podluck. Because
Manga
because we're cool, we're doing it the week after Thanksgiving instead of before
Because leftovers.
because leftovers.
Smooth.
And so these are all one shots that we'll be reading. We'll be reading all of each single one. So we'll all read our individual summaries that we picked out. So I can go first, and then you two. We can just go in the order that we do our thing. And
Sure. Sounds
all
good.
right, hope you guys are ready for this. Eating, sleeping, and being in love. The unusual story of a guy and a girl who dream of having a normal life. Done.
Wait, is that it?
That's mine.
That's the description?
That's mine.
Wait.
It's
Oh,
super
right, 'cause
detailed
we
and
don't-
obvious. I mean, come on, Tristan.
Yeah.
Come on.
Are we gonna just read them all back to back and then reveal what the titles are?
Yeah, let's do that.
Great. Okay. Mine. Can I just say I've never read the summary for it. I literally just picked it based on the title. So here we go. A wife sees her husband in the form of a bear. When they go to the doctor, he tells them it's stress related and that he will turn back to normal soon. But how can you define normal when your husband looks like a wild animal? A story about love and the hardships of keeping it.
That sounds interesting. I'm gonna read mine if you guys don't mind.
Yeah.
Blank is a prequel one shot to a popular shonen series, Hunter x Hunter, focusing on the character Blank. Illustrated by Blank.
That would have made a lot more sense if instead of saying Hunter x Hunter, you actually just said blank.
Blank.
Blank is a spin-off manga of the popular series Blank,
Blank.
written by
This is on
Blank.
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 Illustrated by Blank.
I love it.
I felt like I had to give them something.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, something. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's gonna get any of these without going.
Well,
How
I
many
mean,
Hunter x
like,
Hunter one-shots
It's like
are
the
there?
Hunter x Hunter one.
there's one like really important one, which is the one that we're reading.
Okay.
Can I just like reveal that one because no one's getting shit?
Yeah.
I'll
Sure.
reveal mine.
Yeah.
All right, so
I'll
mine
remember
is
mine too.
the Hisoka no Kako, which is the prequel one shot to Hunter x Hunter that gives Hisoka's backstory.
Ahsoka.
And it was drawn by the mangaka that drew Tokyo Ghoul, and it was done with the permission of Togashi because the mangaka that did Tokyo Ghoul was one of his assistants.
Yeah. I'm excited for that one.
Yeah,
I'm excited for all these.
Look, me too. Mine is called I'm Currently Living with a Bear. You know, I like looking at it now. Maybe it's because we just read My Brother's Husband, but this could have gone lots of different ways.
It's true. It's true.
Literal bear.
Love that. Mine is Unlucky Boy, Undead Girl. That's mine. Which I picked off of, I think, just the cover image. I'm pretty sure. Last year when we did this, we were all like so pleasantly surprised. We ended up reading 3 like really, really good manga one-shots, and we're all just like, what the fuck? Like, these are all so good.
Yeah. Remember how we thought mine was going to be a train wreck, and then at the end we were all crying?
Yeah.
Yes.
Every single one of us cried. Amazing.
Yeah, MangaPod luck is a delight.
Yeah, we're so excited to do it again. I'm so stoked. So that is what we're doing next week. We'll be doing our MangaPod luck. We're going to be doing Hunter x Hunter, Hisoka, Origin Story, Unlucky Boy, Undead Girl, and I Am Currently Living with a Bar. All of it. So let's go around and shout out our stuff super fast. I'm Erin of Happily Erin. I have a YouTube channel, which is also Happily Erin. All the previous manga pods are hosted there. Otherwise, I haven't really uploaded any content. But if you want to see my previous stuff, I have anime reviews, first impressions, lists, things like that. The reason I haven't been uploading anything is because I've been working on a book, which I'm super excited about. And then I am also right now doing an Indiegogo for publishing it. And so if you want to check that out, that would be super awesome. It would mean a lot to me. And we are completely funded on it, which is so crazy. So crazy. If you're still wanting to contribute, you totally can. It runs until December 15th. If you want to find me on any other social media, I'm Happily Erin all across the everything.
Hi guys, I'm Dodger, the one who ruined this podcast.
From the get-go.
Right? You can find me at Dex Bonus on pretty much everything. I stream almost every day. I've got a cute baby. I am going to be in Oregon for Thanksgiving, so streaming schedule is going to be a little weird. Maybe it'll be identical. Who knows? Either way, on Thanksgiving, I'll be eating a lot of food and will not be here. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys. This was a fun read.
My name's Lou. I'm from Lou Talks Anime. I used to make videos. now I should post on Twitter, which I've always done, but now more so. And I'm MangaPod. That's basically it. Maybe one day I'll go back to making videos, but I'm never satisfied with what I write. And I'm kind of like
Mood.
Yeah, it's frustrating, but you know, eventually I'll get back into things and it'll be fun. I am guesting on another podcast, which I have no idea when that's coming out, but we've had was it the beginning of this year, we had one of my friends come on our show, and he's from a podcast called WTF Anime, and I've guested on that podcast before. And I'm guessing on it again, and we're talking about Moribito. So when that launches, I will be sharing that. Moribito is really fucking good.
Moribito.
It's so underrated. I love that show so much.
It is. Hi everyone. I'm Arkada from Glass Reflection. I have a YouTube channel called Glass Reflection where I write a bunch of scripts about things that I don't make videos about, except every once in a while. One of them is either, okay, this is good enough, or one of them is, I haven't put out anything in 3 weeks, I got to put out something. Yeah, I'm also, most places I am GR Arkada, Glass Reflection Arkada, or I'm just Arkada, and yeah, that's me, hi!
Thank you so much for coming on to talk with us tonight as well. You're awesome guest as usual.
I always love coming onto the show. It is great. It is great to be here. It gives me an excuse to read manga, which I don't normally do. So I am very, very thankful for the times that I'm able to come on.
Awesome. Well,
Thank you for
thank
having
you.
me.
Of course. And thank you so much to everybody who's watching this on Twitch or on YouTube. We really appreciate it. We will see you guys next week, same time, same place, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, talking about our MangaPod luck one-shots. If you want to go double check, see what those are, we have a subreddit, reddit.com/r/mangapod. We have the schedule for the rest of the year as well as a recommendation thread. So if there's a manga that you would like to have us check out, you can go ahead and post it in there. If it's already posted, go ahead and upvote the comment and we'll be sure to look into it. Otherwise, we thank you guys so much and we will see you next week. Bye!
Bye, bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye!
Bye.
Bye.